SIUE head coach Brian Barone joins us here on the OVC Media Day presented by CenterPoint Energy right here on ESPN Plus. Glad to have you along, Brian. Welcome from Edwardsville.
Thanks for having me. This is
Hey,
a unique deal.
yeah, it sure is. So, did you ever think when it began in March to keep count of how many of these Zoom meetings you've done over time?
You know what? There's probably a way to see it. I have 4 kids, so I have Zoom English and math and Kahoots, and I have learned more carry the remainders these last 6-7 months than I probably did when I was in 6th and 4th grade. So.
And you're like me, you have your degree in communications, so that math stuff is a little bit of a problem, right?
I forged my way through it my freshman year at Texas A&M, and I never looked back at another math class.
uh, might be the same for me at a member OVC institution, so I won't reveal where that's at. They might go back there. So, and you touched on it a bit, and I think it's important to talk about, what it's been like, quote, since we last met. In this case, at some point in time in February or March of last year, it's actually still the same year, believe it or not. Uh, what's been going on? I know the home virtual education and elements like that. What's it been like for a Division I college basketball coach?
You take advantage of the time, without getting too philosophical. I mean, typically there are times where sometimes you call your wife and you're like, hey, I'm going to be gone for a couple days, and you just find out, because recruiting schedule or something like that. That didn't happen, yeah. So every night you knew you were going home, and we tried to take advantage of that as a family. That's for sure. And then when you're working from home, recruiting and doing different things, and your 3-year-old comes running, asking her to take her to the potty in the middle of a home visit with somebody, you kind of lay all the cards on the table and let them know, hey, this is who you're gonna come play for.
Is it resonating with student athletes, Brian? Are you feel like you're adequately getting your message across in this medium?
Yeah, I think the one thing is, the type of players or the youth now are they're online a lot, whether it's, the social medias and they're willing and able to navigate the information that you want to provide. And I think you're able to get your information across, but the thing you're lacking, even within our own team, when you have certain times where you're not supposed to, we're telling our guys sometimes, like, you're coming to practice, go to class, go home. Like, I'd like to have them over to the house for a barbecue, that kind of stuff. That personal interaction, you have to get creative with. And that's been a little tough.
So I reviewed your roster, just taking a look at it. A lot of different faces. You've got some incoming freshmen. Kind of set the table for us after a tough season in 19 and 20.
Yeah, we signed, what are there, 6-7 new guys. We had Rayshawn Taylor was the only person that we had signed early in the season. And he had a heck of a year. Unfortunately, got with COVID, he wasn't able to finish the state tournament run. But he was our first guy that we signed early, and then we signed six guys late through this medium. And I think our staff did a very good job in identifying our needs, connecting dots on how we can rely upon our relationships to sign some guys that you would like to sit across the table with, just because that's kind of how we do business here. But we relied upon those relationships and filled the roster, and I'm really pleased with it. I had Shamar was in the office a second ago while we were trying to figure out this Zoom thing, and we were just going over the roster, and we were just laughing and smiling about it, like how competitive it's been.
So for you, with a interesting pre-conference schedule, That's got to be crucial for you, right? Because I was talking to Paula earlier. I know in Edwardsville in Illinois, you've had some stops and starts due to quarantines and shutdowns. So that pre-conference schedule is probably pretty big for you.
It is. I keep on telling our guys, it's a fine line of sitting there telling people like, hey, we're utilizing this preseason, this pre-conference to know ourselves, to finally get to play against. We have never, we have so many new faces. We've never competed really against anyone else other than ourselves. So it's a fine line of kind of having them understand, don't get frustrated early, while also saying, we need to go win. I want to win, and we play to win. And they just, as long as you're doing it the right way, as long as you're trying to accomplish something and getting what you're trying to accomplish on a daily, I think that's when you can really figure out what your team is in this preseason. It's going to be unique. I mean, it's going to be real unique. It's going to come at you fast.
And you're going to head north. So talk a little bit about your first 4 or 5 opponents before you hit conference.
We got Youngstown State, who's ranked, I think, 2nd in the Horizon League. They have a big time player coming back. He averaged about 19 points a game. Coach does a very good job up there. They pressure the ball. They play quick, and they'll do a variety of things like that. Then you have Eastern Michigan, who's mostly a zone team, and zone offense isn't something that a lot of teams are working on, early in the season all the time, and that's what they do. So that's going to be a great test, that tournament for us as well. We got Northern Illinois, who we lost by on the last second shot last year in the MAC. And then we have Omaha, who's a veteran team, coming back as well to our place in our one lone home game non-conference. Then you go to Valparaiso and Northwestern. So, and it all happens in like a 12-day, 13-day period.
Your thoughts on a 20-game conference schedule after you get through that tight schedule there in December? Yeah. You're going to be playing conference games before the end of December.
Yeah, we have 2 games, before Christmas break or before Christmas. And, I understand why the conference did it. You're trying to, I don't mind it. I think that it's not a bad thing to have a balanced schedule, especially with the way the tournament is formatted. So you're playing mostly everybody twice, and it's smart, it's safe. Player safety is obviously at the forefront of everyone's thought, while also trying to accomplish the season. So I let the powers that be make those decisions, and I just show up when they tell me to show up.
I want to ask a final question, and it kind of only in this conference really only applies to you and Jay Spoonhour at Eastern Illinois, but you're a 2nd-generation basketball coach. When did you know, basketball's it for me?
And, it's a great question. I've been asked that in the past, and I've actually thought about it. Like, I never thought about it. And that's kind of my answer. I thought about, when did I know? And I was like, I never thought about it before. I just kind of was always, what I always wanted was the camaraderie, the team, the togetherness, the family atmosphere. I love when the team came over to the house. All of that was just coaching to me. The X's and O's are obviously vital, and they're very important. But coaching goes so much deeper than just what you're seeing for 40 minutes or a 2-hour game. And that's the stuff that I just always was a part of and never wanted anything really differently. So the short answer to my long answer is I think I always just was going to be a coach.
Jay's response was, if he wasn't a coach, he would be a general contractor, and being a coach was more fun. So
yeah, see, my dad, we didn't have a hammer. We didn't have nails. Like, we had a vacuum and I wasn't gonna. I had no choice. I was gonna do communications, or I was going to coach. But yeah, Jay was probably a little. Coach Spoonhour probably had Jay doing some stuff around the house more than my dad.
Well, both of you turned out just fine, and we're glad to have you in this league. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. All the best to you, and we will for sure see you along the way this season.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Great seeing you again.